All right, we're continuing Derech Hashem, part 2, chapter 4, number 3. Welcome, everybody. So, last week, and it's page 263 in the Naaman edition, if you have that. If you don't, I highly recommend you get it, because it's fantastic. So, this last week we began to talk about the difference between the Jews and the nations of the world. Why are the Jews the chosen people? And what is their mission specifically in this world, and how are they unique? So to answer that question, we didn't finish answering that question. We began by discussing the history of the world, the history of everything. So we started with the beginning, with Adam Harishon. Adam Harishon, we mentioned, was created on a level that was significantly higher than where we are now. In fact, we mentioned that you would not be able to see Adam Harishon with your physical eyes because he was on such a lofty level, very, 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 very holy level. And what we call spiritual is what he would call physical. So we can't even relate. After, however, he ate from the Eitz Hadas, the tree of knowledge, he went down a level to where we are now, basically. We call Adam B'Shiflaso, a lower level of humanity, because he sinned. So when he sinned, he wasn't just punished, but rather the whole nature of humanity changed. We also mentioned last week that it was set from the beginning that Adam was going to have descendants. Even had he not sinned, Adam was going to have descendants who would have partaken of the reward that was earned had they not sinned, had he not eaten from the Eitz Hadas, and they all would have been on that lofty level. And we mentioned that within those descendants that Adam would have had, there would have been shrashim, there would have been roots, and there would have been branches of those descendants. It sounds like there would have been main descendants and those that had less of an important role, perhaps, however we would say it, not totally sure. But, right, so the idea is that after Adam sinned and the nature of humanity changed, that concept that he was going to have descendants, that there were going to be roots and branches, still existed. That still held true. So now we're continuing, and we're continuing at that point. So we're after Adam sinned, and the entire universe, entire world and humanity have gone down a level. Now, the whole idea was that Hashem wants that humanity, he didn't destroy humanity, but he let human beings live in this lower level, and he wanted humanity to, using their free will, choose to do the right thing, and therefore bring humanity back to the level of Adam before he sinned. And that's what the goal, and that's what Hashem wants. And we're continuing at that point. So we're in Gimel. V'hine, Rasa Chachma Elyoina Hayos Roy Shezeh Hayishtadlus Yischalek L'Sharshe Va'anfi. So he said, all of the descendants of Adam had this choice to, using their free will, to go back to the point of Adam before he sinned. But within those descendants of Adam, we still have the shrashim and the anafim, the roots and the branches. Perish, what does that mean? Shia batchila zman ha'ishtadlus l'sharashim shebatoldos ve'achar kach la'anafim shebehem. That means at the beginning of world history, it's going to be the time of the roots, and after that, it will be the time of the branches. V'hainu ki amin hanoshi kulo hayotzar chadayin shikava inyono karoi v'yitukan mina kalkulim shniebo. That it was that the human species, the entire human species, could have established themselves during this time, the time of roots, and fixed all of the deficiencies that were in the world. Ulefi seder ha'adraga hine hayaroi sheyukbo berishona sharshehem v'roshehem shel tolos ha'adam la'amod madrega metukenes v'yamdu bohem v'anfehem ki ha'anafim yimoshchu tamid achar ha'shorish. He says at that point, the time of the roots of human history, if all of the people, or if whatever group of people would have chosen with their free will to do the right thing and to elevate themselves, they would have been set in stone on that high level, and their descendants would have followed after them and gotten those and followed after them in that high level. So this time of the roots, which we're speaking of, is a time at the beginning of history where anybody in humanity had the opportunity, using their free will, to do the right thing and therefore be fixed for them and all of their descendants to be on this higher level of human existence. So let's see what happened. So he writes here, Rabbi Naaman quotes the Ramchal and Adi Ramaram that at this point in history, really Hashem wanted all of humanity to reach this lofty level, because all human beings, not just the Jewish people, are descendants of Adam Harishon. And really God wanted that all of humanity should do the right thing, and all of humanity should be on this lofty spiritual level to get to the madrega of Adam Harishon, of Adam before he sinned. V'hine, higbil azman lishtadlish hashar sheyazeh. Shemi sheyiske michlal hanimtsoim, ba'osu hazmanim shahayashar zeh niftach v'ayabiyadam lagil zeh enyin. V'yachanes atzmo karoi yikavel l'shorsh echad tov v'yakar muchan l'mala harama. He says that there was a certain time that was set that someone who merited to get this high level could get it and prepare himself properly. Yikavel l'shorsh echad tov v'yakar, to have a root that was good and exalted. Muchan l'mala harama, prepared for a very lofty level. Haroi l'mishahu adam b'matzav atov, that's befitting for man and his in his good state. V'lo adam b'matzav makukol, that he should not be man in his deficient state. V'chein yasig shiyutan lo lahotzi toldos of harim lo, and once this root would be fixed in that state, his descendants would come and follow him. Kula b'bechinaso, all in his attributes. Perish, but also hadrega matzav shekvar hisiku b'shar shiyosov, that all of his descendants would come after him in that same lofty level. So we're saying that there was, in addition, this time of the roots. We mentioned this last week. It didn't go on forever. There was a set time in human history where human beings had an opportunity to be fixed on a high level in that, and their descendants would have followed after them in that madrega. And how long was that time? How long did humanity have this opportunity to elevate themselves and be fixed in that madrega? The time was from Adam Harishon, from Adam, until the time of the dispersion, right? Migdal Bavel, after the nations of the world built the Tower of Babel, Migdal Bavel, they were dispersed. And it was up till that time that humanity had the opportunity, that any human being had the opportunity to fix themselves on this lofty level. V'hine, kol oso azman lo chadlu tzadikim dorshim haemes l'rabim. And even though at that time there were certain holy people, kigon Chanoch, Mesushalach, Shem ve'ever, umazhirin osam sheitaknu etz asmon, and they told people they should do the right thing. So you did have certain unique holy people that existed during those times, all the way from Adam Harishon until the time of Avram Avinu, during the time of the dispersion. However, since humanity, they quote unquote filled their saw, a term that he's used before. Hashem, sometimes for evil people, he gives them time. Before they have just their evil has overcome the midah of mishpat, the attribute of justice, where Hashem takes his punishes them. And that happened when the evil of humanity got to that point where they had to be punished. That was the time of the haflaga, the dispersion. Shafat b'midas mishpata yisbarach shmo. That's when God judged them with his attribute of justice. And that was the end of the time of the roots. Via kitzam shalatvarm was the end. So therefore, that was the end of the time of the roots. That means whatever level somebody was on at that time, that's where they were fixed, and their descendants were fixed for all eternity. Now, Rabbi Naaman points out an interesting thing here. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert, if you didn't figure it out yet, Avram Avinu was the only one who merited we're going to see in a second, he was the only one who merited to be on this lofty level and have his descendants follow after him on this high level. But we're going to see that in a second. But Rabbi Naaman says here that the Oh, so he actually says first. This is from the Ramchal. I was thinking of another thing over here. He says from the Ramchal that that's the reason that people live so long until the time of Noach, because Hashem wanted them to have these long lives where they could grow and to tremendous spiritual heights. Living a long time and growing higher and higher, they would have this opportunity to grow to a very, very high spiritual level because of their lengthy lifetimes. And when that didn't happen, Hashem destroyed the world with a flood. And in the Ramchal writes, he quotes the Ramchal from other places, that after that there was like another chance until the time of the dispersion that they could perhaps still reach that level. But nobody did that except from Avram Avinu, which we'll soon see. Va'az hishkiach yizbarach shema al kol bnei adam. Hashem looked over everybody. And he saw, Hashem saw all these people according to their deeds, what level they should be set at. And he fixed them there. And that was the roots. Like we said, and whatever level they were on, that was the level that their descendants also were on. What Hashem, that level that Hashem determined for their root. And these different species. He terms them that they all became established species in the world, each one with its nature and its specific attributes, like every other species in the world. And their descendants came out like them with their specific attributes, like other species. So he's saying here that the nations of the world, there are 70 nations of the world. Those nations were set in stone who they were at the time of the dispersion. And he writes that each nation has a certain attribute that is passed down to all of its descendants. He says just like certain species in the world have certain attributes that are unique to that species, so too each nation that was established at that time has certain attributes that are passed down to all of its descendants. Okay. The Amnam, Nimtzu Kulam Lefi HaMishpara Elyon, it was found based on the lofty justice. All of the nations, Hashem saw it was fit that they remain on this lowly level of humanity that Adam made for himself after he sinned. They shouldn't be higher than this at all. Only Avraham was the only person that was chosen, that chose to do good deeds, and was elevated for it. V'nikva lios ilan me'ula v'yakar, and it was decreed that he be a tree that was precious. K'fi mitzius hanoshius madrigas elyona, based on his upstanding, lofty reality. V'nitein lo lahotzi anafiv k'fi chuko, and he had these branches, and his branches would be based on his lofty level. Va'az nischalek ha'olam l'shivim umas, in the world, which we just mentioned, was separated into these 70 nations, kol achas mehem madrigei dua, each one having a certain level. Aval kulam b'bechinas hanoshius b'shifluso, but all of these 70 nations were on the level of mankind b'shifluso. V'Yisrael b'bechinas hanoshius b'iluyo, and the Jewish people, the descendants of Avram Avinu, were on this elevated state. So all of humanity had the opportunity to be zoche, to be at the level of man bi'iluyoy, or man in his elevated state. The only human being at that time that merited to be on that high level was Avram Avinu. And we said that after the time of the roots, whatever was fixed in time in human history at that point became fixed, became set. So all of the nations of the world, their descendants would be on the level of humanity b'shifluso, while the Jewish people and their descendants would be on the level of mankind bi'iluyo. V'hine, achar enyan hazeh, after this, nistam shar shrashim, the gates of the roots were closed. The hischel hagilgul v'hanhaga ba'anafim, and then the time of the branches began. Kol echad lefi inyono, everything according to its inyan. V'nimsa she'af al pi shelachayra nira inyono ata v'inyan hakodmin shav. Now, even though if you look at humanity, it looks the same as it is now than then. You can't tell by looking. But that's not the case. Until the time of the dispersion, till the time of Migdal Bavel, that was the time of the roots. And that everything happened according to that aspect. When this end of this time reached, everything was set. And a different epoch of humanity began. The time of the roots. And that is the time we are in now. So the beginning of human history, part 1, was the time of the roots. And now we're in part 2, the time of the branches. Now, let's just do one more paragraph. We're going to read. Now, one might think that, this is the note that I wanted to mention before. Rabbi Naaman says that we can see why there's midrashim that say the people of the world really, really wanted to get Avram Avinu involved in building Migdal Bavel. The reason was because they knew the Zman Hashrashim, the time of the roots, was ending, and they didn't want Avram Avinu to be on this high level. They wanted him to join them so they would all be together in this low level. Rabbi Naaman says that. He addresses it more in his Sefer Idrei Tzon, which is a very deep Sefer. Okay, now, so one would think that's it, right? People had their chance. Hashem, gave everyone an opportunity, even though Adam Harishon sinned, because of the tremendous kindness and chesed of Hashem. He gave all of humanity a chance to get on this lofty level. He gave them 2,000 years, and only one person did it. So one would think that's it. There's no opportunity for any of these other nations to be on a higher level of humanity. But that's not the case. Continues the Ramchal. Umerov tuvo v'chazdo yizbarach shemo, because of God's great kindness and goodness. Oh, there's a question I'll say. So I'll come after this paragraph. I'll answer the question. Oh, sorry, it's a Sefer. The Sefer is called Idrei Tzon. It's by Rabbi Naaman. If you want to send me an email, I can give you Rabbi Naaman's email, so you could probably get it. It's also available. I can send you a PDF. He has a PDF online of the Sefer called Idrei Tzon. Okay, so we're just saying because of God's great kindness and goodness, Gazav v'nasan makom afilu anfei shara umos. Because of God's great kindness, He gave the opportunity that the branches of the other nations can even join and become part of the branches of Avram Avinu, if they want. That's why we call Avram the father of converts. He said to him, and you, all the peoples of the earth, will be blessed in Avram Avinu. If they don't make the effort to do this, they'll remain in their madrega of Adam b'shifluso, in their level that they're on. We're going to learn next week, not right now, but there were even more opportunities where Hashem provided for all of humanity to be on this lofty level. So it's because of Hashem's kindness that He gave human beings, not only Jews, many, many opportunities to get close to Him and choose to act as a human being is supposed to act, by being like a man on his lofty level. Okay, so just to summarize, we learned that there were 2 general periods of human history. One is the period of roots, one is the period of branches, and the period of roots was for the first 2,000 years of humanity. God wanted human beings using their free will to do the right thing and return to the level of Adam Harishon before he sinned. And the only human being to do that was Avram Avinu. And because of that, he was set at the end of the time of the roots on this very lofty level, and all of his descendants, the Jewish people, will follow him on that level. Whereas the nations of the world, at that time, they did not choose to do that, so they remain on the level of Adam b'shifluso. Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments on what we learned? Okay, thank you again for coming. I'm glad everyone could make it, and have a great night and enjoy the snow.
Thank you.